Well, aloha, folks, and welcome back to another episode of the Veterans Financial Edge. I'm your host, Jason C. Scott, top 1% mortgage loan originator, 20-year combat United States Army retired veteran, and a whole bunch of other shit, but you guys know all that. Today, though, I've got a really cool guest. You know, I've been promoting this for a couple of weeks. We were going to do it last week, in fact, while I was on vacation, and unfortunately, our guest, he caught that crazy bug that's going around. He could barely talk, was hacking up his lungs like about every 3 seconds. So we just said, hey, you know what, let's just push it a week. I'll tell my audience that I was on vacation, and that's why there wasn't an episode. But, you know, you are going to be excited. Our guest today is Tom Hamner, owner of Granite Transformations, Patriot, Colorado resident, United States citizen. And I'll be honest, folks, normally when I interview a guest, you know, we're on here anywhere from 50 to an hour and 15 minutes. I don't know if we can get his entire story in that amount of time. So as long as Tom wants to be with us, we're going to just keep telling this story. So you may want to buckle up and get ready for this. And without further ado, Tom Hamner, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, how's it going, Jason? Thanks for having me, man. This is exciting.
No worries, man. So, folks, a little bit about Tom. The way he and I met, believe it or not, he owns a business called Granite Transformations. If you're ever remodeling your home and you live in the Colorado Springs area, this is not a plug for him, but it is in a way. And you don't want to do a complete full-blown gut of like your bathrooms or kitchens or whatever. This is actually a great alternative. That's how we met him. He came to the home, and I like to get to know people that I work with, and then just start talking story. And next thing you know, here we are on the show. So, Tom, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, you know, where you come from, how you do, and then we'll get into it. Cool.
Okay. Well, just, you know, about Jason and I meeting and getting to know each other in an appointment, which has led to a relationship where it was able to beautify his house, and now then be part of a business social, which is what led to us getting to know each other a little bit more and wanting to become more involved, not only in the community, but also to tell what's going on, not only in my life, but, you know, a lot of my story affects everybody's life that's listening. Like we've all been impacted. I come from a small town. I was raised with I would say my dad was pretty independent, which would now be considered far right. So I had a really good upbringing in a small town with a country environment, a father that was former military. You know, he was a Marine, before I was adopted. He met my mom, they married. You know, I was adopted in California. I really never knew anything about what politics are in my upbringing. That wasn't something that we talked about a lot at the table, you know, so I can't say that I was influenced by political conversations or any type of political involvement with my family as a young guy.
So as a young guy, would you say you didn't have really any interest in politics at all, probably, right?
No. My biggest dig was the fact that I was adopted, man. I really had a chip on my shoulder over that.
Okay.
You know,
and what age were you when you were adopted?
I was 2 months old.
Okay. So as far as you knew, your dad was your dad.
Yep.
Okay.
They sprung that on me when I was a young boy, and I didn't understand it. I took it wrong. And so I grew up a little bit rebellious, to say the least, right? Joined the DEP program. Matter of fact, I just got a base access, and they were like, were you ever in the military? And I'm like, nah, I didn't get to go. And they're like, well, that's funny because here's a picture of you in tans. And I'm like, oh gosh, that's from high school. When I did the delayed entry program, I had gone and done the physical and all that stuff, and they had taken my picture and I had been accepted, but I never ended up going. So I never got to serve as far as in service.
Gotcha. Okay.
Grew up, you know, in a little town, graduating class of like 17 people. And so 8-man football, basketball, track, you know,
8-man football, graduating class was 17. So that means part of your offensive linemen were probably in 5th grade. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, I mean, hey, offense and defense were the same line, you know. So, you know, I grew up in Victor, Montana. That's where I got to, got to grow up. Born in Huntington Beach and adopted in Southern California. Mom and dad moved to Montana in 77, 78. And I grew up to graduate out of high school. Well, that's a funny story too. I had some problems in school, not with grades, just with authority. And so I bounced around a little bit to where I had to graduate by transferring credits to a continuation school.
Gotcha.
In order to get my diploma, because I couldn't walk with my class. I was too bad of a guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you complete high school.
I get out of high school and I moved to Southern California, right?
Okay.
And I learned this trade in construction having to do with tile through the years. And it's something I fell in love with. I missed my opportunity to go into the Marine Corps. There were some complicated issues at the time. Some of them had to do with, some of the things that I did as a younger fella. And so it kind of destroyed my efforts going into the military. So I focused on construction. And I learned my trade of tile. That's how I got here.
Okay.
25 years later now, I think I was 26 when I finally started doing tile in Southern California.
Okay.
And I just rose up as best I could with what I learned, man. I had a great mentor who was a union guy. And again, politics weren't there, man. I worked with, your regular everyday Joes. I worked with illegals. I worked with a lot of different people in construction through the years because that's been my life. And I was telling somebody today, it was a funny story because we were having a conversation. Let's talk about politics real quick. So I'm at the home show today and I'm talking with one of my booth buddies. He does decks here in town. And we were talking about the immigration thing. And, it used to be that an employer could vet an immigrant, a skilled immigrant, and have them come and fill a job position here in the United States, right?
Right.
And that's what I had been used to seeing years and years ago in Southern California. One of the first things, so I grew up in Montana, graduated, and I moved to Southern California because, man, I got to be by the beach. I got to find, I got to see this lifestyle that you see on Miami Vice growing up, right? So I ended up in Southern California. And one of the first signs I see, and I was telling this guy today, I grew up with deer crossing signs and look out for elk and maybe chickens or duck, something like that in the country.
Oh, no, legal crossings on
I-5. In California, you got a family of 3 on that sign.
Yeah, we got to watch out. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely San Diego area for sure.
So 1991, I'm like in Southern California, graduated high school, and I see this sign. I get a job on a construction site, and one of the first things that happens a couple of days into it is the immigration shows up, and all these guys just they like disappear, and I'm like tripping out. I don't think nothing of it, and I'm talking with one of the fellas about what just happened. He's like, yeah, every now and then you got to look out because immigration might show up, or even the boss could call because he doesn't want to pay anybody. And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty messed up. So that was my experience at like 18, 19 years old. I think I was working for a buddy's uncle who was a block. I was tending block up and down the hills of Laguna Beach, California. So I jump into construction. Man, I see an interview sometime in the 90s. I think it was from the late 80s with Trump, President Trump and Barbara Walters. You see it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Now. But I was going to school to become computer repair certified, thinking that's where I needed to go, right? Jumping out of construction. And I was at the point where I had just got certified and I was trying to like open my own repair shop with the guy who had been doing it for a while. That was kind of, I guess, my thing is find somebody experienced and then start duplicate what they're doing, be a
right.
business owner. And so I hear this interview that kind of made me stick with construction, which was, you're the only one that puts the price on what you can make. And after kind of, researching a little bit about Trump and seeing what he was talking about as far as how development goes, so you build a team of good people, and that's how you make as much money as possible.
Right.
But first, you got to understand what it is you're building. So my thing was tile, and I stuck with tile and stone till I was as much of a master tradesman in it as I could be. And that's what led to me moving to Southern and continuing the tile business. when the economy sunk in California after 2008.
Right. During
once that real
mortgage
estate
bubble
collapsed. Yep. I lasted 3 years. 2011 hit. So 91 to 2008, that was a pretty good run in Southern California for me in construction. 2008 to 2011 was a struggle. I had to get out of there. I moved to Colorado. I found Colorado Springs in 2013, rented a place, then bought a house, met the owners of Granite Transformations, still no politics.
Right.
Still no politics. This is 2014. I'm working with them in 2016. All of a sudden, this maniac that I totally think is a pretty cool dude, as far as like what he's doing in life, Donald Trump is running for president. I was like, you're full of shit. I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, you're good. Crap, man. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This dude's going to run for president right now. Man, this could really do some good for our country, I'm thinking. I had no idea about any plan. I knew that I never agreed with politics. I thought they were all corrupt always, I could never say that there was one politician that I would have ever trusted. There were some that I thought did good, but none that I think I would have ever said I could have trusted.
Would you say that you voted prior to then at all or no?
Never.
Okay. So basically your whole life up until 2016,
man, I
voted.
Dude, I wouldn't even know what a ballot was until 2016.
Okay.
And at that point, all I cared about was that dude's name was on it. Donald J. Trump. I didn't understand the rest of it yet.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
It's really important to understand the rest of that. I don't know how many people listen to you that had the same mindset as me, but man, there was a long time where I didn't pay attention to anything because I thought the people who were voting for the same people that I would have maybe voted for were going to do the right thing so that I didn't have to worry about it. I think a lot of people thought that. Go to work.
I think there's definitely a class of people that do that. I tell everybody that, I served in the Army for 20 years, and I didn't start voting literally until my last 4 years in the Army, because there were 16 years of it to where I felt it didn't really matter who I voted for, because whoever was going to be in office, that was the boss. You know what I mean? And so it's where, I regret not having been more active earlier on in my life. But honestly, when I did start to get involved, that's when I started to educate myself on what am I voting for? Who am I voting for? Why am I voting for this person? Because I looked at politics similarly. Can't even speak right now. All the way back to a kid when you were in high school, which your class was too small. I don't know if you guys had a student body president or any of that stuff, but
yeah.
Oh, you did. So they just had one vote and then they were good.
I was vice president. It was Tom and Jerry was president. We won because of the name.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing.
You know what I mean? But yeah, we were still active in it.
But I mean, it was a popularity. I always look at it as a popularity contest. I really just didn't see how that impacted my world, right? It was more, for the rich and the fluent, and what happens in the White House, it's kind of like whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's kind of the way I thought about it, right? So, not to bring up Vegas, I know you were just there, but yeah. So continue.
I only woke up in somebody else's room once.
Okay. Oh my gosh. So anyway, so you think this guy that inspired you way back when, you come to find out he's running for president. You're in Colorado. You're working for Granite Transformations, not the owner yet.
No, I'm a subcontractor helping them out with jobs and stuff so that they can win the jobs they're doing. They didn't have anybody that could do their shower pans. So I was doing all the shower pans in front of all of their wall overlays. Or I would build their backsplashes before they take them out and they'd install them. So, it was kind of a love-hate relationship. I loved it when there was a lot of work and I hated it when there wasn't.
Yeah.
And then 2019, I had started to do very well with my company, One by One Tile and Stone here in town. And I was at the point where I could hire more people, or this opportunity popped up where I could purchase Granite Transformations. So Trump wins the election and becomes president 17, right?
Yep.
I have these great years up to 2019. I closed the deal in December of 2019, and I take ownership. And 30 days into January, COVID hits and the previous owners have left, and my wife and I are in control of everything Granite Transformations, and they're trying to shut down the whole economy.
Right. And at the same time, you go on a trip that year during
No. This is 2020.
Oh, 2020. Okay.
2020, I hadn't. So 2020 was the year that there was the Freedom March.
Right.
The Freedom Plaza March to the Supreme Court.
Yep.
So first time that I ever went anywhere to be a part of anything that had to do with my constitutional God-given rights. So I went with my wife, and we met a bunch of people there, and we marched from the plaza to the Supreme Court. Man, I tell you what, I have an even better part of that story. Trump came out in that big Suburban and he came down Pennsylvania Avenue, and he goes down the front part of Freedom Plaza coming from the White House. I don't know what direction that is, but I was up on the planter wall, and I just started running down the wall, and I jumped off the edge. And as he's coming around the corner, the two Secret Service are peeling off some cameramen, and I got right up to where I was literally 18 inches away from the window, telling him I loved him. I love you, man, with thumbs up. And he points back, I love you too. And I was just like, it was the best thing in the world. I might as well just shook the man's hand.
Okay.
Right? So, boy, talk about getting excited, excited in a celebrity way, just excited in a way that man has the same vision as I do for this country. And damn, he's in the right place.
Okay.
He's in the right place.
So you do this march, that concludes. Did that kind of jumpstart you becoming a political activist then at that point, or what?
No, it jumpstarted me firmly into my beliefs that we had the most corrupt system in the whole entire world as far as a political machine, and that all the suspicions that I've ever had and ever talked about with other people, they were definitely not suspicions anymore. We have...
Talk about that. What do you mean?
We have the most crooked people when it comes to everything civically, locally, statewide, countywide, whatever. If you can put a politician in there right now, they are corrupt. This is the first time in the history of my life in 52 years that we're actually about to clean house.
Right.
In a way that's been necessary for generations. I mean, we've never really seen what we're dealing with as a whole like we're looking at it right now. I mean, election fraud, crime's okay, illegal immigration is the way to go.
Right.
Well,
we see that right now in our county.
Collapse the veteran community by reducing the benefits and having more crime. I mean, look at everything that's going on affects veterans more negatively than a lot of people because of whatever situation it is that they came home from, that they now have to live in, and they're not getting the support they need. They're giving it to all the freaking illegals. They're giving it to all these jackasses, and then they're sending it overseas. I mean,
right.
The fact that there's not more people outraged blows me away. But then on a conversation with Don Hazard today, tomorrow he's going to be leaving the halfway house right in a car and driving straight through to Texas, right?
Right.
He's still hung up. Today on the phone, he says he calls the protest a riot. And I said, man, did you see how easy that came out your mouth? And he's all, what? And I'm all, you called the protest a riot? He's like, holy shit, I did. And I'm like, that's the media narrative that's constantly playing in conversations, on the TV, in the news, everywhere, to where now it's it's natural for you to use that descriptive word.
Right.
Right. It's up to us to make sure that we change that every time we hear it. So when people say it to me, I remind them of what a riot looks like, and then explain to them what a protest is.
Right.
And so that's how I define the two in order to help people understand, George Floyd, Rodney King, those were riots.
Yeah. I lived in LA during the Rodney King riots.
Yeah. I had just hit, no. I moved there just a couple years after.
Yeah. I was there in college.
What year is
it? Funny, you and I were in Southern Cal around the same time because we're the same age.
Yeah. Was that 94?
I believe so.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. That was, I was there. I remember now.
Yeah, because did you graduate high school in 91?
91. And I
Yeah, same here.
Out.
And then I went down to Southern Cal after graduation of high school. So,
yep.
But I want to go back to what made you go to the Freedom March? What was the reason you're like, you know what? I just bought a business, the pandemic. What made you decide, you know what? I'm going to go do this. What was the reason to make the trip just for the Freedom March?
Because there was no freaking way in hell anybody could let what I just seen stand as far as an election. Look, I was sitting there watching.
No, this is January 20th, not.
No. I'm talking about November 2020.
Okay.
November 20th, 2020.
Okay, so before we go there, I'm talking about when you went to January of 2020. Did you go to the Freedom March prior? Wasn't there a march prior to?
Oh, the march was after the election.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry.
Because of the fraud.
Okay, gotcha. So that's why after the election, that you're like, screw this, I'm going with everybody else to do the Freedom March. Okay.
I'm going to go march to the Supreme Court in support of them sending that, rescind the results or do something with the results. I forget exactly what they could do. But we wanted the results sent back. Like nobody agreed with the results. That was that march.
Gotcha.
And during that march is when I was invited to march on the day of inauguration.
Okay. So there we go. All right. So that's what led to the January 6th event. So November after the election, your first time ever basically casting a ballot. Yep. Or no, that would be your second time, right? That was your second time.
Second time.
Yeah. You're along with millions of other Americans that felt that it was a rigged deal. It was like, no way, this can't be true.
I saw the numbers change on TV.
Yeah.
I saw it when I was like, whoa, what the hell just happened? I'm like, look at my wife and well, did you just see that? She's like, I just saw that too. And it wasn't until like a week or so later where we finally was able to like find that again because we weren't recording it, but there were people recording it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay. So then you meet someone at the Freedom March.
Yep.
Now, who was this person? What were they? Just another bystander?
They were just another patriot that I'm sure I have in my phone from that day because I saved it.
You haven't stayed in connection with them or nothing?
Yeah, I've probably talked with them. I just don't remember exactly who the people were that invited me. My wife and I were like, yeah, well, sure.
Let's go. Okay.
Yeah. I was in. And then
you've been a business owner, just under a year.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And because January 10th would have been the anniversary, correct?
December 1st would be the anniversary of the first year.
Okay, so you were just coming up on a year, a pandemic, which I'll be honest, in my industry, there was a huge boom during 19, 20, and 21. And a lot of people were doing remodeling of homes. So I'm assuming you saw that same trickle down, yes?
Oh my God, it was the best year the shop had ever had.
Okay. So you got all these things going for you, but at the same time, you're still pissed off about the results of the election. And you're like, you know what? January 6th, I'm there. So let's talk about that thought process. What was the planning behind it? The logistics. What was the intent when you got there?
Just to be a part of the day and have my voice heard that this was the last day that I would stand for the, inadequacy, or it's just nobody's doing anything. I think most of the people I spoke with that day, they weren't only fed up with the election, they were fed up with all the lies.
So, okay. But going there, did you ever have any intent to do anything destructive, or was it more like we're going because we want to voice our opinion, right?
Oh, no, never anything. I never once had to, I never thought that anything would get damaged, destroyed, anybody get hurt when I went. I went there.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get. In your mind,
yeah,
this is just going to be kind of like what the Freedom March was, except more people, and we're going to be there for the inauguration, basically, right?
Yes, and why not be prepared? Because that last event, at the end of it, Antifa came out right when the sun went down and started attacking everybody leaving the Supreme Court. So the only thing that I did was I made sure that I had gear in case at the end or any time during if something were to happen, I would be able to protect myself and possibly help somebody else.
So when you say gear, what kind of gear did you have?
A helmet, a flak, double pleated cargo pants, and some work boots.
Okay.
You're just basic.
So no handguns, nothing like that. Just basically to make sure you don't get thumped up pretty good.
Right.
Okay. So the day of the event, you're there.
Mm-hmm.
How does it start? And then when does all hell bust loose?
Well, that's weird because, I'm at the speech in front of the monument, and I decide that I was going to go. Trump was still speaking, and, he's saying a lot of things I've already heard before. The sense of the crowd was great. Everybody was super jazzed. I mean, dude, bro, if you could bottle happiness, that would have been the day to bottle it.
So basically, there wasn't anybody there it seemed like in your perception, it wasn't like people were there for blood or anything. They were there for a cause.
You know what? They were there for a good cause, a good, just reason. And it was a lot of the same reasons when you boil it all down. And the energy produced by such a large amount of people after the same thing really can generate an incredible amount of good energy. And man, I tell you what, that day, I challenge you or anybody to find a terrible conversation that day. Out of the millions of conversations people posted and recorded, find me one that was terrible.
So you were at the monument where he was giving his speech.
Yep.
And then, did you stay there for the whole speech or did you?
No, I decided that being my experience from the march in November, I was like, I'm going to go check out the lay of the land,
Okay.
You got to kind of know what you're going into. It's kind of when you grow up hunting, you kind of know that you go scout before hunting season and learn the lay of the land. So
we call it reconnaissance in the combat world, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go and see what's going on because I'm going to look for things that are out of place.
Okay.
Well, I see some things out of place. A couple of buses as I'm walking down between all these little atriums and this walking path. And across the green belt is the I forget what road over there that goes up to the back of the Capitol. So I'm on the walking path. Then over to the right, as I'm walking, I'm checking out all these little neat atriums and areas where you could go and sit and like maybe meditate or something or,
right,
have some alone time, peaceful areas, like nice. And I noticed that I see a bus pulling in and it's parking next to another bus kind of off the side of the street, right? And there were other buses as well. They weren't the only ones, right? So it seemed odd that they were so late.
Right.
But it didn't seem odd because there were other buses there.
Okay.
And when they're getting out, they're dressed just like all the people that are with me and back at the monument, right?
Okay.
So as I'm walking, there's not a lot of people going yet. There's like looky-loos and people that are just in D.C. or people that live there. I get to the back of the Capitol and there's a few hundred people maybe. A group of people listening to the speech on walkie-talkies or handhelds, and I kind of hung out with them so I could listen to as things broke and see what was going on over here because I figured if anything, this would be where, something might happen. Never did I think it would be from Capitol Police or law enforcement at all.
Okay.
So with all of this, I'm listening and I'm making friends and talking with people and man, I'm just having a really neat time. It was incredible. Dude, I tell you, that day is with the weather and all, the people, the conversation, the energy, bro, you would never know that day was as cold and chilly as it was, right? And gloomy behind us.
Right.
Because we were jazzed, bro. Like, look how many people showed up. How could they not understand how important this is the mindset.
Right.
How could you not have that? Look at all these people. This is important to this many people to show up at the same place and be like, hey, listen to us. We're speaking for more than just us.
Right.
We're speaking for everybody that couldn't make it here. We're speaking for everybody that died trying. Like, listen. Nobody wanted to listen that day. They wanted to take it out on us. They wanted to make us look very bad with their
So you left let the buses. So you get to that before you get to that part. Where do you go from the buses that you noticed to where you at next?
So as I'm walking down that path and those people are coming off the buses, they're just starting to walk down the road and filter onto the walking path behind me. So now you've got these people in between me and whenever the crowd starts behind me, right?
Okay.
So I don't notice anything about these people, and they filter in. And they're amongst all of us down at the end of the road.
Okay.
I never paid attention to any one of them. They were all dressed like us. I was looking for the people out of place. I didn't know any better.
Okay.
So we're starting to gather. The big flag with Pelosi as a vampire shows up, and the lady 𝐇𝐀𝐒𝐇𝐓𝐀 is, a part of that crowd. She's the one running against AOC.
Right.
Out there. And so I got to get my picture because I thought she was a pretty solid person with what she's doing, grassroots. And I see this lady with this big poodle, and she asks me, she's like, I'm asking her if I could pet her dog, and she says yes. So she asked me if I could lift the dog up onto the grass area so that it could, do its thing. And I was like, sure, throw the dog up there. Then somebody puts their kid up there. Then a Capitol Police officer who's standing in the grass, there's like a few of them, runs up and says, hey, that kid can't be on the wall. And so the parent takes it down, and, me being a little bit of the rebellious person I am, I jumped up on the wall and was like, hey, what about me? Can I be on the wall? And so he didn't come back and say anything. I stay up there and I'm looking around and I'm shaking people's hands, and I turn towards the Capitol, and over to the left, this Trump flag comes out of nowhere, and it's like whipping in the wind. So somebody's like jogging with it. And I finally, like a bunch of heads and a couple more flags come out. There's a little underpass over to my left that I never noticed because I didn't come that way around the street. And I hadn't gone that far yet because I was too busy talking with all these people right here. But I turn around and I'm like, hey, let's go, and start helping people come up onto the wall. And once I had filled the wall and people were helping other people, I made a gap and started towards the Capitol. So, here we are, a couple hundred people, 300-400 to start, headed to the back of the Capitol. Nobody goes up to the final platform on top of the rotunda back there. Everybody stops at different little platforms, different little areas. I happened to stop at one of the very first set of stairs, and was high-fiving a guy. We were jumping up and down, just high-fiving. Yeah,
okay.
Super stoked. We're at the Capitol, like, we're taking our house back, man. This is the first step. And then, boom, that dude hits the ground. I was like, I tripped out for a second because as he hit the ground, I heard a report. And after, shooting rifles in Montana, you understand the sound of a gunshot.
Yep.
You know what a report is, right? So I hear that. This guy falls down. The first thing that goes through my head is this dude just got shot.
Yeah.
And so I go, he's like kind of doing the fish or flopping. I don't know what when you get hit with that taser, I don't know what it does, but it turns out he had gotten shot with a taser by a Capitol Police officer. And so when I went down to grab and help sit him up to assist him, I didn't have any protection on my hands.
You got shocked.
So yeah, that was surprising. And so I let go of him, and I started to look up. And as I was looking up, I saw these wires, and I followed it to the Capitol Police man, white knuckling it. And I mean, he's draining that thing on this guy. And another one comes out from behind him and sights me up and down and decides to shoot me in my pant leg area. And my double pleated Carhartt pants, my work pants, kept the barbs from making contact. So I looked down and looked at him and shook my head, grabbed the wires, ripped them out, threw them back at him. And about that time, man, the amount of people that were on the green belt and starting to fill in behind us was.
Would you say that you and this person that's next to you were one of the first few people actually shot?
I would say we were probably one of the first, if not the first ones.
Okay.
Yeah, we were.
So there's definitely video footage of you at the Capitol building.
Only the closed circuit and cop cam, because no podcasters had gotten set up yet. No media had left the speech yet.
So this is before everything went really crazy, before people actually stormed the building.
So when we showed up, there was only a couple hundred people, right?
Yeah.
And the police, as people started filling in, the police went and grabbed the barricades that are leaned up against the back of the Capitol walls that earlier that morning, before the speech ever started, were in place as crowd control, but there's video of somebody breaking those down and putting them where they were when we showed up.
Okay.
So none of that, there was no perimeter control, there was no barricade control, there was no crowd control whatsoever when I arrived at the back of the Capitol.
Okay.
There was just a few Capitol Police that decided they were going to shoot people with tasers, mace them in the face, and then pretty soon the batons came out where they were hitting people and crashing into them with those barricades.
Okay, so you pull out the wires, you tell the guy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa.
What happened next?
I was going to leave. The little voice was like, get somewhere safe. So, like I said, you turn around and there's nothing but a wall of people. You stand in your place and you kind of just, it's like a rock with water. Everybody just starts converging and it fills in. You're slowly moving with the front of the crowd because at some point, you've got hundreds and hundreds of people just coming across. They're just cruising, they're like little ladies with walkers. I mean, people with their canes. You've got parents with their kids in the backpack. Some of them, the front holders, all with their gear and, I'm an American, this is what we're here to do. Don't certify this.
Right.
This is the moment in American history where people are like, I get to talk to my government. No.
Okay, so you get stuck with the people. It continues to move forward. Where are you at this point?
So I'm at the stairs on the back still, like to the right of the scaffold, where on top of it, they filmed the inauguration.
Okay.
So it's the scaffold that's in between the sides that they build every inauguration for people to stand and sit on.
Right.
There's this one tower in the middle. I'm to the right of that if you're looking at the Capitol. So on my side, the crowd is filled in. At this point, I was at the bottom of the last set of stairs, and there was a lady who was helping me clean my face from being sprayed with one of those cans of pepper spray or whatever. And I stood up and was kind of coughing away, and I got grabbed from behind. And the person that grabbed me from behind, I didn't recognize him then because I had no idea who he was. But then after all of the videos came out and his picture, I had somebody grab me by my midsection and say, "You got gear on, get to the front of the line," and pushed me to where I was either going to walk up the steps or go face first into him.
Okay.
It was that son of a bitch. Epps was the one that pushed me up the steps and was in my area, part of the sign that came across the crowd that I got 30 months sentenced for.
Let's hold on a second. So Epps is the guy that supposedly disappeared. That's also considered an FBI informant, correct?
Exactly.
All right. So again, for the audience, you went there and it's more than hundreds of people. There was thousands of people, thousands, right?
Yeah.
You were basically you picked a spot to go look around, and unfortunately, where you were at, that's where everything ended up becoming the main focal point.
Yes.
Two, what people aren't even talking about, they don't even realize you were probably one of the first two people, if not the first two people, to be tased by Capitol Police before shit went sideways, right?
Yes.
So when these people were coming up, none of them even knew that you got tased at this point, right?
No.
And then you'd mentioned that you also obviously received some pepper spray to the face from somewhere, or at least back spray from somewhere, and somebody's helping you. So at this point now it's getting nasty, right?
Oh, this was probably the third or fourth time that somebody had helped me clean my face.
All right. And then still nobody had went into the Capitol building at this point.
Not on this side of the building. I don't know what was going on the other side of the building.
You were on the back side of the building. Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah.
I think where their emphasis was on the front side, right? Is that what?
Yeah. So the back side of the building was where Roseanne Boylan passed in the tunnel. Kevin Greasom and Benjamin Phillips, those two were affected by the flashbang grenades. I think the three other deaths, aside from Miss Ashley Babbitt, I think were all on the back where I was.
Okay. So
happened there.
Million deaths happened where you were at.
Yes.
Okay. And the Epps character that everyone, that he's the Where's Waldo and has supposedly disappeared, right? Like you firmly believe he was the guy based off of other video proof that you've seen. Have you collected any video where it shows you as part of this going in or no?
Yeah, I've collected many different videos throughout the time. I have a friend who's got a file that she shared with me, and for some reason I can't access it right now, that had even more footage. And I found all the scenes where he is literally right next to me.
I need you to send that to me, man, because I want to add that to this show to where people can see that. Because I don't believe you have a YouTube channel for anything like this.
No.
So I'd like to be able to put that up as part of this episode. And maybe if we're lucky, we can get Patrick Bet David to take a look at this, and maybe even, Tucker Carlson, see if we can get them to talk to you about it, because you're sharing a story that most people aren't even aware of just based off of where you were at.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever, again, I know the rest of the story a little bit from what you told me as to why you got arrested later, and we'll get to that in a second. But you had mentioned about a banner or a sign. This guy Epps is trying to push you forward because you have gear on. Talk about the emphasis of the sign and how that led to ultimately you becoming incarcerated.
Okay, so we're probably talking 20 to 30 minutes before the sign comes across the crowd. He had been motivating people that moved to the front of the line to push forward, hold the line. Like, he was one of those guys that was hollering that you'll hear in some of the videos. That was when he pushed me up to the front. I ended up going to the front because it was the easiest thing to do, less resistance, and so I ended up at the front of the line. Nothing was really happening right then, and then he leaves. The police push the barricade, and they catch it. They have a picture of me and 5 other people grabbing the barricade for a number, two main reasons. One is it just got shoved into us, so you automatically go to grab at it. And 2, we're at the top of steps, so we need something to hang on to.
Okay.
Right? So now it becomes a tug of war. That guy Epps is going and doing whatever his thing is. The barricade gets taken from the police, and it gets crowd surfed out. A few minutes later, another one gets done, and then all of a sudden there's this huge Trump sign coming across the crowd. And it's got wheels at the base of it because it was one of those ones you could roll down the street.
Okay.
I think it was 8 foot by 12 foot. It was huge, massive. And the wheels came down and almost hit me on the head, so I had to kneel down and duck. And as I'm pushing up, they've got me in one of those peculiar situations. I look very aggressive because the damn thing's heavy. And I'm pushing it off my head. And yeah, I got an aggressive look on my face, man, because I'm doing a squat right now, dude. Right? I was assaulting the police.
So how were you assaulting the police? Did that sign touch a policeman or something?
Yeah, because that sign went to the police line.
But how close were the police to you at this point?
2 or 3 people deep.
So you indirectly, by touching the sign and trying to get it off you, as it continues to move forward, they tag you and whoever's in that general area as assaulting the police with the sign.
Everybody who touched that sign got sentenced under civil disorder.
Okay.
And also had a controlling charge of assault on a police officer.
On a federal police officer. Okay.
Yep.
So you get through that. You obviously don't get arrested that day.
Yep.
So how much, from that point, from that moment, how much time transpires before you leave and leave the area? Did you go into the building at all?
Nope.
Okay. So you're waiting. You're just trying to survive at this point because it's just a ton of bodies, right?
The amount. So there gets a point sometimes where you can tolerate the amount of people and everything, right? I was at the point where I needed a break because I had been there for hours at this point. We're talking it's 2:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
I think Roseanne, something had already happened to her at that time. I know Ashley Babbitt had already happened. I was at the point where I saw people starting to fill the scaffold. And I was like, man, that's a way to get away from some people for a minute. So I worked my way up to the second tier from the top on the scaffold. And I stayed there until the sun started to go down. So I was probably up there for 45 minutes to an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Just watching everything and seeing the things that were going on. I mean, you know, the amount of people was intoxicating.
Okay.
I had a guy who's like, hey, can you hold my phone? And I was like, sure. And he disappeared. And so I was finally at the point where I'm like, man, like 40 minutes gone by and I've still got this guy's phone. I'm all, what happened to him? 10 minutes goes by. He's like, hey, can I get my phone? I was like, yeah, sure. Here you go, man.
Interesting.
Right?
Makes you wonder who that guy was.
He's like,
why would he give you his phone to hold on to?
Right? I just held on to it. He came back. I gave it to him. He thanked me and went on his way, man. Like, that's how trusting it was that day. Like, nobody was there to hurt anybody or destroy anything or turn anything upside down, man. Like, even after the assault on the crowd, people were still being helpful and
one another.
Man, dude.
Okay. So you finally come down off the scaffolding. It's near sundown.
Yeah.
And then what?
It's getting dark. It's getting dark at this.
It's dark. And then you make your way back to your hotel or something? Or
yeah, I make my way back to where everybody's starting to meet up. Just around the corner where the hotels, we could start hitting the hotels. That's where the Ubers were picking you up because they had the streets blocked off.
Right.
So I had to walk about 4 or 5 blocks. It was about the same distance as I had walked when I was there before.
Okay. Right?
For the Supreme Court, because it's just around the corner.
Gotcha.
And so I went the same route. I ended up catching a cab, and I apologized for, if his eyes started burning because of all the pepper spray.
Right.
And he gave me a ride into, I think I was in Philadelphia's right there or whatever little town in Pennsylvania is right there on the border.
Okay.
My wife had got me an Airbnb, so I went back there and got all my stuff together and got on the plane the next day and flew home to Colorado, buddy.
Okay, so that January 7th, right?
I'm January 7th. I'm free.
Okay, so now
wrong. I didn't get it.
January 7th, you're like, okay, that was a crazy experience. That's stories for the grandkids later, right?
Yep.
Fast forward to November, right? What day in November of 21 did your life get turned upside down?
Let's do this. In September, I decided that I could post a picture.
That you could what?
I could post a picture from that day.
Okay.
Because I figured it had been long enough and I could get away with posting a picture of what I was doing that day. And so I posted a picture of me and a Donald Trump cardboard cutout in front of the Washington Monument on January 6th, the morning of 2021, before he started his speech. Thumbs up, right?
Right.
I'll send you the picture. You can post it.
Okay.
And so that was like mid-September. October goes by. They must have been watching me because come November.
So which platform did you put on? Facebook, X?
Telegram.
Interesting. Okay.
I put it as a profile pic on Telegram.
Okay.
November 9th. So a month and a half later, November 9th, 2021. At 9:15 in the morning, I'm walking out of the Salvation Army in Colorado Springs with an insurance report to make sure that the bid I gave them on their apartments that needed to be repaired worked out together. I walked out to the Colorado Springs Police and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Put your hands on your head, partner. You under arrest.
So they arrest you. So Colorado police, so El Paso County sheriffs or?
No, it was in city limits. So it was the Colorado Springs Police.
Okay.
There was no sheriffs on my street that morning, but there was a very strange car that was part of my arrest in front of the Salvation Army that stood out to me. And sure enough, it was the same car that I ended up riding in all the way up to the federal courthouse to go in front of a judge. So they had me staked out. The sheriff's department, lo and behold, they may not have wanted to violate my rights.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you get arrested by Colorado Springs PD, booked, and then transferred to the FBI?
No. Colorado Springs Police Department, they were just part of the guts.
Okay.
The feds were right there to put me in the back of their car.
So FBI took you away.
And run me straight up to the
Denver
court in Denver. Yep.
Okay, so you get up to Denver. Nobody's read you rights or anything. Miranda Act, none of that stuff.
No, they just asked me if I want to talk, and I tell them to kiss my ass and all that good stuff.
Okay.
I tell them that I go, I was just listening to Richard Randall before you arrested me, man. I said, it was funny. The guy was talking about how he'd like to see the FBI completely disbanded. I said, how does that make you feel?
So food for thought is next time maybe stay quiet and observe what's going on. Because at this point, do you have any idea of what's going on?
I just know that I'm under arrest for a warrant because of January 6th.
So they told you you're under arrest for a warrant due to your activities on January 6th?
No, for the Capitol riot was their exact words. You're under arrest for a warrant. You have a warrant for your arrest for the Capitol riot. Put your hands above your head.
Oh, wow. Okay. So then you go to the Denver court, and the federal court. What circuit court is that?
I don't even know, man.
Okay.
It's the only federal courthouse up there, and I don't even remember the black fella's name of the court I was in, but it was no bail, deny this, go to jail.
Wow. So where did they put you in jail?
Castle Rock.
Really? Federal penitentiary in Castle Rock.
The Douglas County Sheriff's facility, because that's the only place that can hold a federal inmate while going to court.
And how long were you there?
2 months.
2 months. And that was to get you to your arraignment?
That was before they transferred me out to Virginia. I had everything basically on the same day. And then I think I went one more time. I think I made one more trip to the courthouse, and that was when they denied my right to bail again, and I was sent then out to Virginia.
Hey, folks, if you're here, that means this podcast has went at least 25 minutes. And I don't know whether I should apologize or say thank you, because that means if you're watching me right now, you're actually finding value in this episode. I'm asking you to do me a favor. Like, subscribe, and share so that way other people can also enjoy the benefit of the information that we're putting out each week. All right, we're back. Part 2. Didn't realize we were 55 minutes in, and I'll be honest, this is probably going to be the longest podcast I ever do, but I'll be honest with you, brother. I was thinking about just while I was gone, there's this app called Connect, and it's a way to connect with, famous people. You got to pay money to talk with certain, all of them require different amounts, but like, I'm actually going to send a Connect message to Patrick David. I don't care that it'll cost me probably $500, only because I don't think I'm doing your story enough justice, and he knows a lot of people to where I feel that you've been done wrong. So recap, folks. So far, we learned a lot about Tom, how he grew up, how he got into the trade that he's doing, how he got to Colorado, how he first got involved in politics, basically during Trump's first administration, which led to, him going for re-election. He voted, didn't like the outcome like so many other people, did the Freedom March in November of that year, and then, was invited to go to peacefully protest on January 6th. And then just the stuff that, Tom's been talking about, what happened to him, his location of where he was at the Capitol building, people that, are in the news now that we know of as far as EPs, right? Famous potential FBI informant, right? Or I think it's actually been proven he's an FBI informant. So all the way up to the point to where November 9th of 2021, FBI and Colorado Springs Police Department basically had been following, Tom's movements and arrested him in front of, a Salvation Army in Colorado Springs, hooked him up, took him to the Denver Federal Courthouse, in Colorado or in Denver, was basically signed, sealed, delivered, straight to jail. They take him to Castle Rock to the Douglas County jail, basically, right? He was held there for 2 months before being transferred to Virginia to the federal penitentiary, correct?
To another facility that was contracted with the feds to hold prisoners while going to court.
Okay, so now the 2 months that you were in Castle Rock, did you have any court appearances during that time other than your first time?
I only had the first two, which the one was the day I was arrested in my street clothes, and then I went one more time in the Castle Rock dress. Yeah, and then I was moved after that at like a 2-month point. I got shipped out to Orange, Virginia.
Now, at any time that you went to court, did you have any legal representation at all?
Yeah, I had hired Randy Corcoran out of Denver. He's actually, I think he's recently won an office seat. But Randy Corcoran was my attorney we had gone to hire, but being that the case is in D.C., he couldn't represent. He doesn't have.
But did you have legal representation the very first day that you were hooked up and sent to?
By basically the public pretender.
So you were assigned a public defender, and because this all happened within hours of you being arrested, like you didn't get a chance to even make a phone call to try to find an attorney.
Yeah, there was phone calls being made by my wife, not by me. I wasn't allowed a phone that day. My wife managed to get him on board. I met with him once at the jail, later found out that they couldn't represent me because the case isn't being held in Colorado. It's being held out in D.C. I have to have an attorney that's licensed out there.
And he couldn't refer anybody or recommend.
Yeah, he couldn't or would. I don't know which it was.
And then what kills me is you were arraigned and sent to jail in Colorado, but yet they're saying that the case pending a trial or whatever in D.C.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes. So they basically told me that I was going to be denied any chance of bond or release here in Colorado is what they told me at the courthouse. And that I would have to go out in custody to my next destination. That's basically all they were saying with what they did at the federal.
So basically your constitutional rights were completely stripped away, violated.
Yeah, I really don't have any.
Okay. So then 2 months there, you get to meet with your attorney one time, basically for him to tell you, yeah, I can't help you.
Pretty much.
And then you get transferred to Virginia. Now, once you're in Virginia, they don't tell you when your court date is, correct?
I got a court date from here for out there, and it was just a video court where I would go and sit in a room and have a video conference from the jail I was in Virginia. And that happened with me and another fella that I had met in Oklahoma, because you have to go through a processing center before to do the federal intake process, where now you're actually a federal inmate, and now you're going to go to wherever the jail is that's contracted to go to court. This guy that's a January 6 or 2, he's from Texas, Don Hazard, and we become friends at the federal holding facility and spent the next year locked up together, basically bunkmates.
So total time incarcerated was how long?
26 and a half months.
So from November of 21 so you got the November 22, November 23, and then
26, 20,
January of 24 is when you were released?
December 26th of 23. Day after Christmas.
And you and I met, what, February of 24?
Yes.
Yeah. So, because I think you'd shared with me, like, and it's not, I don't know how the conversation went that way. We just started talking story, and I like to get to know people, and then you told me that, and I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, holy shit, man. Like,
yeah.
I wasn't like, are you fucking kidding me? I can't believe I've got a convict in my house. I was, holy fuck, this guy's been wrong. You're lucky to be alive. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Now, so let's go ahead and now, at any time during your 26 months, allowed any visitation from family, anything?
So yeah, video visitation was really the only thing since I was so far away from Colorado. They had a little kiosk that you could do video visits and, see your family through the camera and they could see you. That was really the only visits that I had gotten. And in all honesty, man, I was really lucky because the guy the guy that I was riding with for quite a while, he didn't have anybody. So I would include him in my visits from time to time, so that he could feel, some of the love and stuff, even though it was my family,
Gotcha.
I wanted to be supported.
Did you both get released the same day?
No, he's still in a halfway house. He plans on renting a car tomorrow and driving straight through to Texas. And tomorrow, since you're going to air on Wednesday, would be the 20th. So tomorrow he plans on driving straight through from the East Coast after getting released from the halfway house, because that's probably what's going to happen. Back to Texas.
Let's talk about that. So you're released on the 26th. Do they provide you transportation back to Colorado, or did you have to get your own way back?
I was in so you have to go into a halfway house before you get released to the street.
Okay.
So for 6 months of 23, 7 months of 23, I was living in a place in Denver, which was still part of the prison system, where they could take me back at any time if I had any type of situation or violation.
So what were some of the rules that you had to live by?
Couldn't work for my own company, couldn't go to my own house, had to random drug test, no worries, had to do random counseling or one-on-ones with whoever your counselor was. And, luckily I had a nice one who wanted to, she wanted to fight for me, which was surprising. You don't run into that a lot in these places, So that was really, that was interesting. But yeah, I had to report back to that facility every day. And I would drive to Colorado Springs and go back so that I could run my business as an employee, employed by a different business, contracted to manage this company down here so that I could keep my business from failing.
Okay, so now, pause there.
Yeah.
Prior to that, though, while you're incarcerated, your wife's running the business basically while you're gone, right? How did the business suffer or flourish, or how did it
drained everything we had in savings?
Okay, so you started to lose business. So, because was it public? Was it all over the news and everything, or what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you became a pariah. Any business contacts or people that you'd worked with that shunned themselves, that nope, I can't have anything to do with you? Was that a lot of that as well?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like for instance, my contact at the Salvation Army, I won't say any names, but they were unable to write me a letter of recommendation because it would be a conflict of interest with the Salvation Army, right?
What do you mean? Conflict of interest?
That's just what
they said, huh?
With the heads of the Salvation Army, which they have to answer to, they were telling this individual that it wouldn't be a good idea to do that at this point in time and to not. And so when I did run into this person, they told me how much it pained them that they were unable to write that letter.
Okay. That sounds great after the fact. That's kind of like Mark Zuckerberg saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and get rid of all the fact checkers and shit on social media because, we want people to express themselves. Well,
yeah.
There's a new sheriff in town. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about employees and stuff? Did you have people say, all right, I can't work for this guy, I'm going to have to leave? Or
no, employees were real supportive. The beautiful thing about construction is most people, whether they know it or not, are right-leaning in the construction industry just because it's feast or famine.
Okay.
So
all right, so you didn't lose too much there.
No.
Then we went through 22, where rates really started to climb.
Appointments is where I got hit. Not employees, sales appointments.
Because you couldn't send them.
Well, yeah. Or they would want to ask my salesperson, what is politics worth? I don't want to talk about that. Oh, you got nothing to worry about.
Oh, in fact, I think your salesperson that came to my house had mentioned that how you guys had a transaction. It was a pretty big one. The guy wrote a check for I want to say $50,000 to do all the work, and then asked your salesman, well, what side do you lean? And he's like, well, I'm going to vote for Trump. And he goes, why don't you hand me that check back? And ripped it up, said, yeah, we're not going to do business with people that support Trump, right?
Yeah, yeah. And my response to that story was, do the people realize that the owners before lined up the same way? So should we tear out the whole kitchen?
Yeah, because they were repeat clients, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, now you don't like the product.
I know. People are just asinine.
It's happened in a lot. It's happened in a lot of ways. You know, I had a lady call the police on me and some other people when this was even before, this was after. Yeah, this was the summer of 2021. I was going down to Los Animas to a Republican meeting with some people from up here. And that was when I got the police called on me because of what I said to somebody wearing a mask in a convenience store.
Oh, wow.
And we got pulled over on I-25 heading south to Los Animas and questioned, interrogated before cut loose again.
Now, this is way before you even went to jail.
This was before I got arrested. This was in maybe August of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. All right. So your wife, you basically you're depleting your savings to keep everything afloat.
Oh yeah.
Now here comes the crazy one, folks. We're gonna deviate away from the J6 a little bit because Tom and I talked before recording this, and it's another part of his life. When you talk, when I believe it or not, when you could ask Tom this, when I met him, I was like, dude, if you didn't have bad luck, you'd have no luck at all. Especially after he told me this part of the story. During all of this, you also have a daughter that is, we'll say, special needs, but not in the way that most people think special needs, but emotional special needs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And has a history of, because I don't know what you want to divulge, but basically needing help here, right?
Yeah, she gets in challenging situations that sometimes involve, maybe check in for an overnight to cool off, or maybe, we have to have somebody in authority come out and help her work through whatever the situation is.
Okay.
We have a long history.
Yeah, documented here of this, right?
Yeah, working through it. We have a file of being a successful family, providing the perfect environment, creating a place where they can thrive and have a good future.
Doing everything that a good parent can do to try to help their children succeed.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. No problems.
Now, while you were incarcerated, or was it right after you got out when the incident happened with the wife?
So the incident happened right before I was going to be released to a halfway house. Now, we didn't know that was happening a month and a half after this incident. We had no idea this was coming up. So on February 3rd of 2023, my ex-wife now, sorry, but she went on a trip with our stepdaughter, her biological daughter, to a Christian rock concert called Winter Jam out in Tennessee, in Nashville, Tennessee. So they had done something similar here in Colorado, and Lily had such a great response to it that Stephanie thought it would be wonderful that she go experience this again somewhere else, and see that she could have fun and be safe and all of this stuff. And the trip ended up having a very different outcome than what was planned, where our daughter had a outburst. It was completely read wrong. People that did reacted in a way that, would create an incredibly difficult response for anybody in that situation, especially my wife, who she doesn't respond well to other people's aggressions. She's one that she's flight, not fight. She will run away from a situation if it gets too crazy.
Okay.
And so her and the daughter got split up. Some good Samaritans thought that what they heard was a serious situation and an immediate crisis that they needed to intervene. And it created a situation where my wife ended up being arrested and my daughter ends up being put in Child Protective Services and going into the foster home system to start off. So this is in February of 2023.
Meanwhile, you're still incarcerated.
Yeah. The morning of, my wife doesn't answer, which is weird because she answers every single time I call religiously. No answer. Wait, call later on. She answers. And she's like in this hysterical state talking to me about what she just had happened to her. And I was blown away. She had just gotten bailed out by the help of one of our friends out here so that she could get out of jail in Tennessee. So she gets bailed out and she comes back here. She hires an attorney that can work here and back there. And so now she's funneling money. I'm still incarcerated. She's funneling money that we really don't have. But boy, oh boy, we got to spend it because we need to get our daughter out of the situation.
Okay. So do we want to pause there for a second and just kind of explain to the folks? You don't have to, but what is the issue, the medical issue with your daughter?
She suffers from borderline personality disorder.
Okay. So there's obviously a recommended medical path or treatment that you have to deal with on a daily basis to help her as what most people would consider stay normal, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then while at this event, something happened that triggered her to create a response that most people would not think as normal and then cause them to act in a certain way. Compound that with the fact that because of the way they acted, your ex-wife now is not the type to sit there and fight. She just fled, basically, right?
Yes. Yes.
And when she fled, that left your daughter unattended, who at this point, she was 16, right?
She is 13.
Oh, 13.
She was. Okay. Yeah. So what happened is her and the wife were the two people that intervened separated, like carved off the daughter from the wife. Okay. And so the wife Stephanie not knowing what to do, she decided to go back to the Airbnb, call the police, tell them what had happened, just so they could bring Lily over there, because that's kind of what she has done out here in Colorado. Like when Lily jumps out of the car and runs down the street, the police bring her back.
Gotcha.
Okay. So this was kind of viewed, since those people had peeled Lily off and called the police, Stephanie, instead of sitting there and getting into a situation, she fled to where she knew she could be safe, start the process of getting this thing laid out. Well, while doing that, the police said, "Hey, we're looking for you. Where are you? We want to come talk with you." So she gave them her location. They came, interviewed her. The police officer called his supervisor and talked with them about the story and said that he felt that she had done nothing wrong. But the supervisor informed the officer that he needed to arrest her for the neglect and endangerment and child abuse charges that they felt were warranted. So the officer then arrested her and took her into custody, and here we are.
Okay. Meanwhile, they also, Tennessee state protocol, as anything like that happens, child automatically goes into state foster proceedings. That's part of their child protective services, right?
Yes.
And then fast forward, your wife gets bail to come back home, but they won't release the daughter, correct?
Because there's pending charges on the wife still.
Yes. And because you're incarcerated, you can't go back and get your daughter either. So now the daughter becomes a ward of the state, and the state gets to decide what the outcome of your daughter is, correct?
Right.
So they decide this outcome. Now the wife is basically not happy at all. You're in a halfway house at this point now, correct? By the time we get to this point, right?
Yeah. We're at the point where now I'm at the halfway house, and she's like going back and forth to Tennessee.
And trying to keep the business afloat and all the other stuff.
Right.
She comes up with a crazy idea, right? Because after her multiple trips back to Tennessee, realizing that she's not going to get the daughter to bring the daughter home, you get a call at the halfway house with her idea, correct?
No. This was just in 2024, 2023.
Okay.
And
during this whole time, neither one of you have had contact with your daughter, correct?
We haven't been able to have any contact other than video visits. And if we go out there, we can have an approved visit on site at this time for, I think it was 2 or 3 hours.
which she's at a state facility, correct?
Yeah, she's at a 24-hour lockdown state-run facility.
Is this a mental health care home?
Yeah, it was called the one that she went to after the foster care wouldn't work out and they realized that she needed more structure. They put her in a level 4 center called the Rose Center.
Okay. So now she's for the state.
And this is where, it's a state-run place, and a lot of bad things happen to Liliana there.
So, and here's what's crazy is that state technically really doesn't have any jurisdiction in this matter because she is technically a resident of Colorado, but yet Colorado won't do anything to bring her back here because of the pending legal action on the ex-wife, correct?
Kinda. It comes from the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction, Uniform Jurisdiction Act, the UCCJEA or something, Enforcement Act. And that act says that if you are not a resident of the state, the case is to be transferred in 30 days to the resident state.
Which it never did.
Never happened. Lily then goes through the Rose Center up until she gets approved to go to a level 3. I don't know how this came to be, but we thought it was going to be a good thing. And it kind of was. She gets moved out to Mountain City, Tennessee, a level 3 facility, out in a really nice area. It seems like it might be a good place compared to everything that's happened at this other center.
Okay.
So she's at Mountain Youth Academy in Mountain City, Tennessee, man. This place is another lockdown, 24-hour controlled facility, but she can have off-site visitation with her mom.
Okay.
And so mom goes out there and they do this once, and it was great. They had a good time, and so mom decides that she's going to do it again, but little did I know, this next one, this was the 𝐇𝐀𝐒𝐒𝐄 event where we're going to go and meet somebody out there that's going to drive a car from here, and she's going to fly out there, and they're going to meet up, and they're going to leave with Lily.
So they're going to kidnap her. I mean, I know in her eyes it's not kidnapping. She's getting her daughter back, but that's what the state's going to say.
Exactly. You and me, we're talking the same language right there. So she goes and she leaves the site with her daughter on that 6-hour pass and gets a 6-hour head start to take off. And later that night at like 3 a.m. in the morning, she was arrested with the other person at a hotel in Missouri. And so now we're in 2024, April, May of 2024. She's run out there, tried to kidnap her daughter from this facility. Why? A lot of people are asking. This is the straw that broke the camel's back, okay? Our daughter had been sexually abused, physically abused, and mentally abused, and all these things at the Rose Center. And these people have gotten away with a lot of this, right?
Oh, my God.
And so she's at Mountain Youth Academy. And she calls her mom this one morning. And mom's like, "Hi, baby. What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm going to the clinic." "Oh, you're going to the clinic? What? Well, what clinic are you going to?" "Oh, I'm getting birth control this morning, Mom." "What the hell does our 15-year-old need birth control? She's in a 24-hour lockdown, all-girl facility in the building she's in. The boys are in a total different facility in a different part of the property. Why does she need birth control?" So that was what got mom to go out there. That's that's created the situation for her to say, "I've got to take my daughter out of that situation because this is bad."
So she got caught. Unfortunately, she obviously not having an attorney in her ear because she decided to self-represent, which I can understand. The attorney probably was bleeding you guys dry.
Dude,
I mean,
killing me. Killing me.
No state help from, senators, representatives here because, well, it's a liberal state and they believe in all that bullshit. I mean, it literally, it's like Hawaii, so it's unfortunate there. So you weren't going to get any help from that.
No.
You're not residents of Tennessee, so no legislation's going to help you there. And
Nope.
Again, you're still by this point now in 24, you finally made it home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Then the wife drops the bomb on saying, yeah, I want a divorce. And to make it clear to the audience, this is your daughter that you said it's your wife's daughter, correct? But
Yeah.
you still raised her as your own, correct?
Yeah. I've been dad for 10, 11 years now.
Okay. So meanwhile, that's unresolved. Back to J6 stuff. You're back trying to pick up the pieces again. You and I are trying to create business and get the word out. We're part of, like you said, we're part of I don't know if we'd call it a Patriots community, but like conservative business owners that believe in our patriotic duty and the rights that, for being American, right? So, which I really enjoy. Got to meet some really neat people. Then we have this whole election season, which was nuts, right? I know you're doing your best to try to help, promote President Trump. I'm doing my best as well. Election happens. Holy shit, we won, right? And then still everybody's holding their breath until tomorrow because we still don't know, right? I mean, geez, just a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah.
Well, then, I see a thing on Truth because Truth Social, that's the Trump platform. He has certain individuals certain accounts that if they post something, whether it's from him or like the Charlie Kirks or whatever, people that are part of his cabinet, it to be pretty much true, right? Because it's going to come out replicated on X as well and a bunch of other stuff as well.
Yep. So
there's this thing saying that, they're getting ready to do a large swath of pardons for J6ers tomorrow, right? And that's when I asked you before we got on the show. I'm like, hey, has anybody reached out to you to let you know, from their administration or not, as your attorney? But now I understand why your attorney wouldn't reach out to you because it sounds like you cut ties with him anyway once you were incarcerated, basically. I'm wondering if there's even, like, if they are going to do that, how that's going to be dispersed and how will you find out whether or not you're on it? But I'm sure it had to have been in the back of your mind, or you're just like, what, I'm just going to keep doing what I got to do right now.
I don't, the pardon doesn't mean anything. Look, the part with or without it hasn't stopped me from doing what I'm doing and staying.
Yeah, I just don't like the fact that you're considered a felon, and
it's okay, man.
Yeah,
I've lived a lot of my life with felonies in my background because of bad choices. I got a couple DUIs.
I get that, but that's
thing. I made bad choices.
You paid the consequences for. You accepted whatever. This is something that you did. That's your God-given right.
Yeah,
to be an American citizen.
And the reason I value that so much, Jason, is because it's the only country in the world where you can make the bad decisions I made and still come out on top.
Exactly. So that's why, like I said, I don't care if I have to, and I'm going to urge the audience, if you haven't heard of the app Monect, Mike, India, November, Echo, Charlie, Tango, it's called Monect. It's a way to connect with, celebrities, whatever. But Patrick, Bet, David, Tucker Carlson, they're on there. They have a fee. Like I click on PBD. If I want to send him, basically says he's done, 5,400 consultations. He has 100% response rate, and he responds in less than a day. Now, granted, to message him, I can send him a text for $100, or I can book a consultation for $12,000. So I guess you can guess which one I'm going to do. I'm going to do the $100 text, but I'll probably send 5 texts. I can get a text or audio response to a text question, or I can spend $300 to get a video answer, right? I'm going to do it. As soon as we're done here and I get through editing this, I'll send them the link, say, hey, what do you think, sir? I think this is something that you should have Tom on your show, because he'll be able to put this in a better format. I mean, I feel like I'm doing a shotgun blast and going back and forth trying to get the right stuff for you, right? And I'm sure we'll reach some people, but the more people that like this, or even Tucker Carlson, right? Same type of thing. That's what I want to do. So folks, if you're motivated or inspired by Tom's story and you want to get involved in a way to help, I'm going to recommend you do that. Or share this video, even get it out there to where people can see it and hear his story. Tom is a very humble dude. He didn't ask to do this. I was the one who told him, I was like, bro, I want to share your story. And it makes sense now, especially with what has happened in the last year and the fact that we're heading into a new administration, into where a lot of wrongs could hopefully be righted, right? Yeah. And of course, my dogs are right outside the door, so I apologize if you hear them scratching the door and barking. But dude, I'm blessed that you've come into our life. I'm one of those problem solver type guys. You know, I just, for one, I can't stand bullies, and I served in the military for 20 years, and I try to live a good and right life.
Yeah.
So, when I see people get taken advantage of, because I mean, let's be honest, if you don't post that post on Telegram, which I'll be honest, I don't use Telegram.
Yeah.
I've heard of it, I just never used it. I never thought of it. Just like I don't use Snapchat or any of that shit. Pretty much it's, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, which apparently that just came on a few hours ago, came back on, and YouTube, right? And LinkedIn. But I think I'm actually going to share your story on LinkedIn, because I do have quite a bit of followers on LinkedIn that would find your story fascinating. I'm probably just got to do it in small chunks, or just have to give them the link to this show. Right. But that being the case, I do want to give a plug for him and his business. So Tom does amazing work. We live in a high net worth home. We're actually getting ready to list the property. Some of you know my story. We got the dream home. We really do. I absolutely love this home. Tom will tell you, it's a great home. Beautiful. It's a neighborhood. I've got too many left-leaning individuals that live in my neighborhood now that I just don't have the patience for, right? And I'm wanting to buy some land and build our barn dominium, which Tom will be part of that as well, and get away from some people and just be able to be myself and enjoy my family and friends and stuff that nature. So anyway, we knew we needed to modernize the home a little bit, and we were going to do the traditional route, and came across, believe it or not, this home had granite transformations before, due somewhere in the home before Tom was an owner, I think. And then, so we're like, yeah, let's give him a call. And then just, like I said, the rest is kind of history from there. So no real, call to action, other than if you do live in the Colorado Springs area or El Paso County, Colorado, and you're looking to transform your home, or even if you got a new build project, because he does more than just transformations, he does it all. You need to give Tom Hamner a call. And I think the website is granitetransformations.com, right?
Yep.
So, and if you want to give your phone number out now, you can, or I can put it in the description.
Yeah, it's 719-591-5800, the office number.
Do it again.
Then you can always find us at granitetransformations.com on the internet. You just type in your zip code, it'll take you right to us.
And then your phone number one more time.
719-591-5800.
Perfect. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we wrap this up?
I wanted to just let people know, I think this is something that a lot of people miss. So we've created the Freedoms Possessive. There are Freedoms Ambassador Project. This has been put together as a 501c3 to take donations to help these January 6th prisoners and defendants get back into life. So that's Freedoms Ambassador Project. You can find that at 𝐇𝐀𝐒𝐇𝐓. But something that I had been left in the dark about by my own doing, because I don't have access to this email, and a lot of information was going there, and it's really important. This is to everybody across the whole spectrum. I want to talk to you about J6 Road Home Project. It's a project that has been put together by 𝐇𝐀𝐒𝐇𝐓 in Texas. It's tiny homes that are being donated and put together in this little bit of land, so that these men and women have a comprehensive reintegration program for all of our January 6th defendants, and helping them rebuild their lives after prison and halfway house. We have jobs, counseling, medical professionals, pastoral care, banking, CPAs, medical professionals, credit rebuilding professionals, Patriot Mobile, Old Glory Bank, all these places coming together, and we're asking you if you could come together with us so that we can build 5 more tiny homes on top of the 2 we already have, and help put these J6ers back into life successfully. So if you have any interest in finding out how you can help in that, you can contact me directly at 719-203-0249. That's 719-203-0249. And you don't have to live in Colorado Springs to help. Man, if you're alive and you love this country, I'd love to hear from you.
Dude, I love it. We'll make sure we have that information in the description as well, and with links to everything. Like I said, your business, to the road home, all that. And what I don't think people understand, I believe there's over 3,000 people that were incarcerated?
There's over 2,000 people that have been arrested. As of right now, we have 77 facilities that are going to be releasing people across 35 different states.
And there's a person that was arrested today.
There was a person arrested today.
Not in Colorado, though.
No, but I don't know exactly where.
That tells you how aggressive. I mean, they've been doing this literally up until the minute. I mean, up until tomorrow at noon, right? Again, we're recording this on the 19th. This will be aired this upcoming Wednesday. So that's the 22nd.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A lot of things are going to have taken shape between now and the 22nd, man. I tell you what, amazing time to be alive.
Yeah, scary as well. So, I mean.
Yeah, I agree.
I hate to say I'm more of a realist than an optimist, but I don't think we're through the woods yet. I think there's a lot more coming that, I'm hoping that the new administration is prepared for, but I think there's going to be a lot that's going to potentially happen that a lot of folks just aren't ready for. So
the hardest work starts tomorrow when his hand hits the Bible. That's
for sure.
That's what I've been telling everybody in all the places I've gone to speak and all the people that I've been able to have a really, incredible conversation with. I've reminded them, when you go home, when we're done talking, you got to go home and tell people that we have to get to work. Like, just because we won the election, that's the key. Now we need to put it in the ignition and start the damn motor, man, and run with it.
Yep. Agreed.
Trump's the key. That's all he is. He's just a key. He's not the savior. We are the people. We will save Jason, all of your people that listen to this, and all of their friends, and all of my people. It's the people. We are going to save the country. Trump's the key.
I love it, brother. Well, with that being said, folks, thank you so much for joining us, Tom. Dude.
Thanks, Jason.
No worries, Bubba. And I will see you
as much as we could.
If you're in the Colorado Springs area, Tom will be speaking on the 26th of this month at
I think it's Wildfire Mercantile in Peyton, Colorado. It's going to be at 6225 McIntosh Road, McCandless.
So, yeah, if you're in the area and you want to see Tom, meet him personally, hear a story, he'll be speaking there as well. That's just next week, or the week after next, excuse me.
Yeah, a week from this Sunday.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, I'll see you then, okay?
Thanks, man.
All right, you guys take care. Thanks,
Bye.
Bye-bye.